WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM's Master of Business Administration is designed to accommodate the career needs of professionals across a variety of work organizations. More information at business.udmercy.edu.
It's the Metro on 1019 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham.
And I'm Nick Austin. Today on the program, legendary Detroit techno and house DJ and producer Delano Smith joins us ahead of his performance at this weekend's Movement Music Festival.
But first, on the Metro, the city and suburbs are bubbling right now over excitement for movement, as you just heard. But dancing is just one part of our culture here in the city of Detroit. It's also eating, and some of the best eateries have roots in the Middle East. Many communities have arrived here from that area, that big umbrella of the Middle East, and it's provided us with great food and cuisine, from Yemeni to Lebanese and Turkish food, among others. One of those spaces to offer delicious Middle Eastern cuisine is Saffron de Trois. The Moroccan bistro on Gratiot offers falafel, harissa potatoes, and chicken sandwich that many rave about. Recently, Saffron de Trois owner Omar Unani purchased the building on East Warren and has plans to open a new restaurant there. To discuss that now, we have Chef Omar Unani here. Chef Unani, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about Saffron de Trois. What originally inspired you to open that restaurant?
So originally, Saffron de Trois was supposed to be, I don't believe in going into neighborhoods and opening up what I want to open up. It's about what does that community need? What does that community want? And so for me, people often mistake Saffron as being a Middle Eastern restaurant, but it's actually a North African restaurant. And so when deciding what kind of food I wanted to do, one day I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, wait a minute, Detroit was occupied by the French. Morocco was occupied by the French. And so there's so much history, which is why we call it de Trois, right? Which is the French pronunciation of Detroit. And it all just kind of came together. It was very serendipitous.
And what I love about that, what you're saying, you didn't want to bring a restaurant that, I like, and these are my things that I like. I want to see what the community needs and what the community wants. And the community wanted a North African inspired restaurant. So when you brought that to the community itself, what did you see started to happen around you? Because I know there's so much happening on East Warren right now. So what were some of the things that are happening, not just, of course, but what were some of the things that are happening around Detroit?
Yeah, so we have won quite a few awards over the years, and people will come in and they'll ask that coded question of, so what made you open here? I'm like, you mean why did I open in the hood?
Yeah,
right. This is very, very, very purposefully done, and so people say I'm in a food desert, and it's not a food desert. It's food apartheid. There's plenty of buildings where you can open up a restaurant and do your thing and service community and people. And we have to remember that we are in the hospitality industry. We are not in the industry of, doing what we want. That's not hospitality. Hospitality is giving the people what they want.
So, before making the decision to open up another restaurant, as we move on, you took a little bit of a sabbatical. You took a little time out to clear your brain, clear your mind, just kind of get some rest. What did you learn during that time just about being a restaurateur, just being a chef, just opening up locations? What did you learn?
It's really tough because one of the hardest things to do is to move from chef, where all you're focused on is the food, to restaurateur, where now you're focused on so many other variables and social media and marketing and how's this bill getting paid and how's that happening, right? And it's a completely different world. And the food industry already has such a high failure rate because it's such a difficult industry to begin with. And so you'll see a lot of the restaurateurs that succeed have different backgrounds, because there's no way you can be really good at food and really good at marketing and really good at service. Like, usually people have one thing that they specialize in, because you're talking art, science, business, all lumped into one running one little storefront, and it's very difficult.
That was going to be one of my questions that I asked you a little bit longer or down the way, but just to talk about, maintaining a restaurant as long as you all have a high level quality, but then adding up another one and throwing in another wrench into your toolbox here. But you have so many different things that are happening. So how have you been able to maintain success in this industry?
For us, we have the 5 core values for the restaurant, and all the decisions that we make are guided by those core values. So if it's not, even if it's a bad decision for the restaurant financially, if it's guided by community, for example, we were closed for all of 2020. We did 110,000 meals for people in need. It was wild. But if we're doing things based on what's important to us, then we didn't do something wrong. I can't be upset if I made the right decision because I can sleep at night. We don't have tipped wages at the restaurant. That came from slavery. When we abolished slavery, we didn't want to pay them money, right? So what did we do? Oh, you're just going to work off of tips, and this is how you're going to earn your living. And it wasn't until the 30s where we instituted a wage of like $2 or something, and it's only gone up $1 since then. So for us, it was, how do we run a restaurant sustainably? And this model doesn't exist. So I'm not recreating the wheel that everyone else is recreating. I'm trying to find a new way to make a restaurant work, And so as they say, the living wage is $15 an hour. Who can live off of $15 an hour, right? It's closer to 20. And so how can I pay someone $15 an hour and give them a living wage at the same time? It doesn't make sense. So, we're constantly trying to, there's been so many different models. I hate the word that everyone uses of pivot. But there's just been, how do we make this work? And if something's not working, let's tweak it and let's make it work. And so one of the things that we're doing at the new restaurant is Detroit has a longstanding history of automotive. And the downside to that is there is no public transportation in the city, and all the railroads have been ripped out. And really to get from point A to point B is really, really hard. So at the new restaurant, we're allowing employees to be able to rent the apartments above the restaurant subsidized. So now instead of paying $1,500 a month in rent, you're paying $100. I'm paying you $15 an hour, but that difference makes up all of your living expenses that you needed. Now you have disposable income, and you can go out and you can do things, and so on and so forth. And so what the finalized version of that will look like is still in the works, but it's about being creative, thinking outside the box, and doing things creatively.
And just thinking about what you just said, of course, there are individuals who think that's a great idea. Of course, you're going to, have a subsidized space for your workers, your employees to have and can have a comfortable living, not too far from work, so you have to worry about traveling. Then there are those who may feel like it's an exploitative process or something, something like that. So what would you say to those who see this as a con versus a positive?
At the end of the day, everyone does what's good for them. And it's not a forced, you have to live here, right? You're more than welcome to go live somewhere else. You're more than welcome to go work somewhere else. We have PTO, we have other help. And again, this is a model where it's like, hey, chef, I don't really need health insurance. Can you give me an extra whatever an hour? Sure, we can work that out, right? Because that stuff costs the company money too. And at the end of the day, people say money is the root of all evil, but I am a firm believer that money is just a magnifier of who you are. If you give somebody who's very philanthropic a ton of money, he's just going to give it all away. And if you give somebody who's a jerk a ton of money, he's just going to become a bigger jerk. So, it's one of those things where people are going to take and choose and pick and choose. There's always going to be naysayers. I'm trying to create something different. Am I going to make the right decision all the time? No. But I'll own up to that, and we'll keep trying to make it right.
Yeah. So right now we are talking with Omar Unani. He is the owner of Saffron de Trois and also planning to open up a new restaurant on East Warren. So give us the rundown on the new restaurant opening up on East Warren.
Yeah, so the opportunity came about a couple months ago. Started talking with the East Warren Development Company, and I'd always looked at expanding the restaurant, but my big problem with expanding is investors come to me all the time. Hey, come open Saffron here. Hey, come open Saffron here. And my problem with that is twofold. One, Saffron is only going to exist on Gratiot. That's its home. It's a very unique space. It's a very unique community thing. I don't need 20 Saffrons. Second of all, it's not called Saffron Ferndale. It's not called Saffron Royal Oak. It's Saffron des Trois. So its home is Detroit. And so in picking a second location, I think one of the biggest things that we're taught as young children, and people of color are always taught, oh, you need to own your own business. Oh, you need to own your own business. If it's not education, you need to own your own business, be your own boss, and help grow yourself. But the one thing they never teach us is to own your own business. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because, have you ever been to McDonald's?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Do you know what they're in the business of?
I'm assuming making hamburgers.
Most people assume they're in the fast food business.
Yeah.
They're actually listed as a real estate company.
Oh, geez, Louise.
So the one thing they never teach us is to own our own business. You need to own your real estate. Look at how many businesses in Detroit in recent years have been dislocated and moved because they didn't own their building, and they've been there for longer than you and I have been alive.
I was going to say, yeah.
Right? And so now they're losing their homes because they didn't own their real estate. And I couldn't have done the things that I did during COVID if I didn't own my own real estate. And so that was the big move for this building was, hey, I can own the real estate. I can own my business. And at the end of the day, I'm not paying somebody else, and I'm not investing millions of dollars in build out into somebody else's property.
And, I just in general, the location that you've chosen is right near that Morningside neighborhood on the east side. So we're really starting to see a lot of restaurants and different things build up in that particular space based on the community groups that have been working really hard and the community members in general. Just everyone there kind of coming together and working to build this new corridor for food on East Warren. So if you could go into the importance, number one, having these your restaurants rooted in Detroit City, Detroit neighborhoods, which is really important, but just giving back to those communities and pouring back into those communities money, resources, and jobs, all those things that you will be able to do with the new restaurant.
Yeah. It's really tough. It really is. Yeah. I think people don't understand how difficult it is to run a business and to run it in the city of Detroit. Yeah. It's so much more expensive than it is to do it somewhere else. But it's so gratifying to see your community develop. And this comes back to my ancestry and my culture, is that we pour back into our communities. We pour back into our neighborhoods. I remember when I went to build the patio on the restaurant during COVID, everyone said, oh, you should wait until there's like redevelopment and grant money for the 1 or 2 years and your area will be a redevelopment zone. And I remember this conversation very vividly. And I looked at them, I said, if I wait for the city to tell me my neighborhood is worth investing in or that it's worth saving, it's never going to be better. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to build this patio, we're going to do this thing. And you'll find that a lot of people are doing that. They're buying buildings, they're pouring into neighborhoods, they're investing in communities. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about Detroit is that there aren't a lot of big chains. It's more or less people pouring back into their neighborhoods. And that's what makes those restaurants so special.
Oh, I think about that often when I think about Coney Islands or just different little locations or food places that we have. It's very mom and pops. It's very local. It's very, almost homegrown when you sit down in some of these places and restaurants. So, before I let you go, just what are the plans for opening up? I know you said you still got plans. You just got the building. So when can we expect from the new restaurant? What's the name of the new restaurant?
We're actually, again, I'm surveying the neighborhood. I want to know what they want. Yeah. I don't want to just come in and plop food down. I would love to do Palestinian food in some way, shape, or form. I was told that, vegan and vegetarian options are very important. So we looked at maybe possibly doing a falafel shop there. And so it'll develop as time goes on. Construction should start later this year, and hopefully we'll be able to open up towards the end of first quarter next year is the goal. But lots on the horizon, super fun, exciting things. Saffron is also adapting and changing. In the Arabic alphabet, there is no letter P, which is why Arabs always go Bebsi. They don't say Pepsi, right? So we're doing this dish. There's a dish in North Africa. And in Egypt, it's called fatir. In Morocco, it's called msamman. And it's basically this dough that's whipped paper thin and then folded up. So it's layered flaky dough. Well, we're calling it B-I-T-Z-A, pizza, not pizza. And it's going to be a super unique experience where everything is stuffed inside.
I like things that are stuffed. I like food that's stuffed. So I'm down for the pizza, right?
Yeah.
Omar Unani is the owner of Saffron de Trois. He's planning to open a new restaurant on East Warren. We'll learn more about that and keep you all updated with what's going on with Chef Unani. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thank you for having me.
It's the Metro on 1019 WDET. That's Diagram. I am Nick Austin. And coming up, we're going to talk about more of the events happening this weekend for Movement, including one of the Detroit icons and DJs that you'll get a chance to see. We're going to speak with Delano Smith when we return here on the Metro.
Message for the DJ. Move my body right. Move my body right. I'm a house head forever. Move my body right. Move my body right. Move my body right. Move my body right.
It's 1019 WDET. I'm Nick Austin alongside Tia Graham. And the sounds you hear right now are courtesy of Detroit-raised DJ, producer, and pioneer Delano Smith with his track Message for the DJ. DJ, give me a little bit more of this.
Deep house groove. Deep house.
And our next guest is someone who knows something about creating a deep house groove. But before he was doing that, creating his own music, Smith was helping to pioneer Detroit's legendary music and club scene in the late 70s into the 80s. It's one of the reasons why icons like the Wizard, Jeff Mills, is quoted as saying, Delano Smith influenced either all or most of the techno generation. Well, this weekend, fans will get another opportunity to see Smith perform when he takes stage at the Movement Music Festival on Sunday at 4 p.m. To learn more about his journey in music, how he got his start, and how Detroit has and continues to shape the world of house and techno, he joins us now. Delano Smith, welcome to the Metro.
What's happening? Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Hey, Tia.
Hey.
I was about to say, Tia's already had a chance to get a crack at you last year.
Right, yeah.
Of course, that had we were talking a lot about the cancer diagnosis that you had.
Right, yeah. And we were talking about the event that Paxahau and my friend Todd Johnson and Charivari produced for me at the Majestic. Mm-hmm. For my cancer, and I'm glad to report that I am on the upswing, because the last time I was here, Tia, I was a mess.
No, I won't say you were a mess, but we can definitely see that you were going through it.
Yeah, exactly, and it was really fresh and everything, and everything was really emotional for me at that time, and everything, but. Right now, I'm doing this new form of cancer therapy called immunotherapy, and it's a new type of cancer treatment where it works with your immune system to cure the cancer. So my body has been responding well to that treatment, as you can see.
I was going to say, it looks like it. When I saw you earlier this week, you turned that corner, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I've also been taking these amazing supplements that, fight cancer on the cellular level, and with that supplements and just eating right.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting a little exercise in and everything, and I am so thankful to the Creator and to the community at large, worldwide, for helping me through this. I couldn't have done it without the community. So you guys, WDT, everyone came together for me in that moment, and I would never forget or take for granted the electronic music community in this city ever. And I love you guys. Thank you very much. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I really do.
Well, Delano, we love you also. And I could see that, especially when you're doing the fundraisers. I remember going to Spotlight for one, and the community coming out for that event was just magnificent, fantastic. And we'll get in a little bit more of that and what you're doing currently, including you got the show at TV Lounge. We'll make sure to get into that.
All right.
But I also know there's some people who maybe this is the first time they got a chance to hear from you. And I do want to just take us back to when you got your start, because you're a man who got his first residency at age 18.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I did. And actually, it wasn't, I really didn't set out to be a DJ. You know what I mean? Because when I first started, I was very good friends with guys that were DJs and had musical sound equipment. I used to just go along and help load the sound equipment for people like Ken Collier and stuff like that. The guy's name is Carl Martin. And he had a sound system. And he rented the sound systems out to various clubs and mainly to Ken Collier. And that's how we basically formed a friendship with Ken. But we used to set him up at all of his parties. Well, Carl used to set him up, and I used to just go along for the ride because I was a friend. And they used to let me play, and and I got good, and I started doing gigs, but I didn't have my own records.
Yeah.
I was, 16, 17?
Right.
And I started getting good, and that was it. Then I started buying my own stuff, and, the rest is history. But I started at, in high school, social organizations used to throw.
Which was very important. That was how a lot of people broke in. You would have these events where they'd say, instead of going out finding another DJ, let's just let someone who's here at the school do it. A lot of people got their start that way.
Exactly.
You mentioned Ken Collier, by the way, who's just, a lot of people would say, the first, right? Big,
Ken Collier introduced DJing to the culture as we know it now.
Right.
Back before DJs generally just sat down and played, record to record. But when, we saw Ken, he was standing up, dancing and blending the records together. That was a phenomenal thing back in 77, 78. And being a kid seeing this, we were just,
it's great, right? It was music you would hear coming up in the queer spaces, of course, transitioning that to a larger population of people. Seamless dancing, right? Because when you can blend your tracks like that, it's just like if you get started with the groove, like Tia's doing right now, and I love it. It's like an hour later, where did one song start? Where did the other one end?
And that's the whole key to a good DJ, is being able to tell a story in your music and making the blends undetectable, and creating a flow and a vibe for your for the dance floor, so you can allow people to kind of get just lost in the music, if you will.
So when you're looking at that, telling a story with the music as you did into the 70s, into the 80s, and then coming back in the 90s, we'll get into the hiatus a bit. What are you thinking about when you're trying to make those transitions? Are you telling a story that's pre-planned? Are you riding the vibes of the crowd that you see out there? What's your game plan when you see
Well, my sets are generally pre-planned. Like the first, I would say, 5 or 6 songs. I'll have, I know these songs go together. So I try to pick the stuff that's kind of the same tempo, the same key, just a lot of factors where I can create a vibe and a flow in the beginning of it, and then I'm kind of going off the top of my head and reading the crowd and seeing what works and what doesn't work. But I think most importantly, the job of a DJ is to introduce new music to your to the crowd constantly. You'll give them their favorites too, but still you're constantly trying to evolve, have the listener
Expand their palette. This
exactly,
is a
expand
beautiful
their palette.
thing, right? Because
Right.
to blend in stuff that you like, maybe some things that'll be your new favorites, right? It's that educational role, that call and response. And it leads me to wonder for you, Delano, DJing at so many places here in the city, so many connections. Do you have a memorable experience or something that you can share with listeners when you realized, oh, the power of what we're doing here, or just experiences with your music? Go ahead.
Probably one of the PAX House festivals that I play, when you when you play a good track, or you do a good mix, or you probably do some clever trick on the EQ or something like that. When you hear that roar, there's a difference between the crowd yelling and then when you hear that roar. That's when you there's a difference between screaming and then just a, you know what I mean?
100%.
And there's no moment like that playing for crowds that big. I played festivals all over the world though, but this is the Movement Festival is one of the top festivals in the world.
Yeah, and you're still making music right now. We talked about DJing, you're creating music. I know you've been mentoring a lot of people. You got a new EP coming out with Silly Girl Carmen.
Yeah, Silly Girl Carmen is one of my mentees. Well, my only mentee. And
do you need another one? I might sign up.
That's all right. That's all right. And she has been such a pleasure working with this young lady. She is so professional, and she takes right after her dad. Her dad is the director of Charivari, Todd Johnson, and she takes right after him in terms of attention to detail and everything. But she's very creative as well. With the EP we have out now, Play, I did the music, and she wrote all of the songs and did some arrangement with the vocals and everything. She is truly a talent beyond DJing, and she's very beautiful as well.
Hey, well, that doesn't hurt, right?
It don't hurt at all. But it's a pleasure working with her, and we're hoping that our EP Play is well received by the public. And I was working on we was working on it while I was sick even, and I just started coming out of this thing just this year. In the past 4 months, I just started feeling better and putting weight on and stuff like that. So.
Well, you're looking great, and you're still out there performing. As I understand it, TV Lounge. What you got?
Tonight we're at TV Lounge. Myself, Silly Girl Carmen, will be playing an extended set. Juan Atkins, the inventor of techno, a gentleman out of New York, resides in Berlin now. Fred P, world wide sensational DJ, Detroit's Norm Talley, everyone's favorite. Bruce Bailey, from Chicago. We have the one of the founders of the picnic they have there. What's it called? The Chosen Few. Yeah. The director of that. We have him come. So there's going to be a lot of good DJs, a lot of good music. Marcellus Pittman, Powder Blue will be opening. It's going to be a great night.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to that.
We could not get. I'm sorry. I just want to give a shout out to my friend Rick Wilhite. He's in the hospital. He fell very ill, and he couldn't play tonight. But we're wishing him the best, and we're asking everyone to send prayers up for Rick.
Sending prayers to Rick.
Yeah.
Multiple chances to see you again tonight, TV Lounge, this Sunday at Movement.
At 4 o'clock, main stage.
That's right.
And also, Silly Girl Carmen will be performing live one of the tracks from our EP, so...
The energy is high.
Looking
for it. Delano Smith,
My
DJ, producer. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Tia. Good seeing you again.
Good to see you as
All
well.
right. Awesome.
I'm a house hand forever. Deep house groove. I'm a house hand forever. Deep house groove. Move my body right. I'm a house hand forever. Deep house groove.
This is The Metro on 101.9 WDET. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish the show, Nick. I think I'm going to be shuffling throughout the whole entire show, Nick.
We'll figure out a way to.
Yeah, but coming up, we'll talk about the deal global leaders are trying to put together to ensure, a little more serious note here, to ensure that a future pandemic is resolved more quickly than the last one we had. You all stay right there for The Metro.
Deep house groove.
It's The Metro on 101.9 WDET. I'm Nick Austin.
And I'm Tia Graham. The pandemic has mostly receded for us, but unfortunately, there's always the possibility of another one. And I wonder, if another pandemic were to hit us, would that world do a better job working together in solving the problem? Would our world do that? For over the last 2 years, negotiators from around the world have been trying to reach an agreement on a pandemic treaty. NPR's Michelle Martin spoke with Gabriela Emanuel about the potential deal.
Not pleasant to think about, but remind us of what happened that causes global health leaders to think a treaty like this is necessary.
Yes, so the idea for this treaty was born at the height of COVID. Hundreds of thousands of people were dying of this disease, supply chains were in crisis, and there was a major outcry about fairness when it came to the rollout of the COVID vaccine. At one point, 65% of people in wealthy nations were fully vaccinated, while only 3% of people in low-income countries were. I spoke with Hadley Sultani Matendajero. He's Kenya's Deputy Director General for Health. He told me he lost dozens of friends to COVID. He says Kenyans really wanted vaccines.
This, in our minds, was the only antidote to this catastrophe. But then we are not able to access it. It was a very desperate situation.
He describes it as a certain kind of helplessness that happens when you see others getting what you need but can't have. He and many people in the global south are hoping a pandemic treaty will make sure that this kind of thing never happens again.
So how would this treaty help, and what would it cover?
Yeah, so it's trying to tackle a whole bunch of issues: coordination, beefing up laboratory networks, and how to share proprietary technology in public health emergencies. But this equity question is really at the heart of the treaty. And what negotiators have done is concoct a new system. So here is the idea. Let's say you're Kenya and you've been keeping track of a new virus that is showing up in your country, and you have a lot of vital information about it, like its genetic sequence. This is information that's needed if anyone's going to make a vaccine or treatment. So under the treaty, you, Kenya, would agree to share that information with other countries who would then, in return, commit to sharing a certain percentage of the vaccines and treatments they end up making from it. Now, exactly what percentage of vaccines would be shared, there's a lot of controversy about that.
So tell us about the sticking points. What are they?
Well, that is one sticking point, this equity question. Who gets what? How do you share information? How do you share resources? And what's going to happen is the WHO members are going to see the agreement next week and hopefully adopt it. That's their plan. If that happens, it then goes back to all 200 individual countries to be ratified. But there has been this issue of a lot of disinformation circulating in Japan, South Africa, the U.S. You're seeing a lot of fear-mongering about how ratifying this treaty would threaten a country's sovereignty. Now, that is not what's happening in this treaty, and they've actually, because of this environment, had to add a paragraph that explicitly states so.
That was NPR's Michelle Martin speaking with Gabriela Emanuel about a potential global pandemic treaty. This is The Metro. I'm Tia Graham, here with Nick Austin. You all stay right there.
Staying right here with you, Tia, on the Metro 1019 WDET. I am Nick Austin, and as we've mentioned, it's all about electronic music this weekend, starting tonight with some of the events we spoke about. Delano Smith telling us about what he's doing at TV Lounge, for example, being that it's so unique to our city and even a place for people to enjoy dancing globally as they come here. It's a form of expression that for many, it's simultaneously unique and unifying, that feeling of dance and what you can do with it when you're listening to house, to techno music. Well, yesterday we heard a snippet of a conversation from author Emma Warren. She said, speaking with WDET's Ryan Patrick Hooper, that dance is very important. One of the reasons she wrote her book, Dance Your Way Home. Today, we're going to finish that conversation as they began talking about when Emma came to Detroit.
I was so happy to be able to come to Detroit. I think it was 2018. I'd gone to Chicago, and then I decided, if I'm going to Chicago, I've got to go to Detroit. You know, relatively speaking, it's not that far. So I got on the train and took the train from one city to another and arrived and stayed with my friend Amy Cahill, aka DJ Ames. And she drove me around. And at one point, I was like, Amy, stop the car. That building is the absolute double of all the buildings that we used to walk past in Manchester when we were going to dance to loads of Detroit techno DJs, you know, Robert Hood, all the people that you can imagine. We saw them DJing when they were kind of fairly at the beginning of what they were doing. And the building was the Ford Piquette building. It is almost identical to the warehouses that sat opposite the club Sankey Soap, where we listened to and danced to so much Detroit techno. And, you know, I'm not really given to like dramatic statements like, Amy, stop the car. But I really needed her to, because I could not believe how similar the buildings were. So I got out, took some pictures, did a bit of research, and it turns out that there is a link between the architects who built the Ford Piquette building and some buildings in New England, which were themselves based on the Manchester buildings. And in a way that explained, you know, what I remember from the time was when a lot of the DJs would come over to our club. It was called Bugged Out. It was run by the people I did a magazine with, which we did together, the magazine. They ran the club, we did the magazine together. And the DJs would often say like they felt quite at home. And I think part of that was to do with an appreciative audience who loved the music and knew all about it and was really on it, but also to do with the fact that they were driving into a space which looked very familiar. It was like quite remarkable the way the two buildings looked so similar.
I love hearing about those connections between these two different places. What do you think it is about that blue collar nature that ends up having us really create some great things and find release on the dance floor? Because that's what it seems like it is here in Detroit, the idea of working hard, playing hard, and being able to unleash that energy on the dance floor. That's another part of how we connect when we dance.
True. Well, I've two things to say about that. And one is to do with the need to dance it out. And I think the degree of like toughness that you have in your life, or the degree to which the state doesn't really operate in your favor, probably correlates quite strongly with the degree to which you need to dance it out, or the degree to which you carry with you life material, sorrows, troubles, difficulties, which benefit from being danced out. And when I say danced out, I mean the act of gathering with other people, probably having similar experiences to you, and just moving your body synchronously to music for hours at a time. So I think it's, you know, you're talking about blue collar, I would probably talk about troubles. And those two things correlate over each other to some degree. You know, it's like there's that Baltimore house track, Dance Your Pain Away by Rod Lee.
Now listen to my story. Bill collectors on me. Have to file bankruptcy. Need some help from somebody. Doctor bills are stacking up. I'm desperate to make a buck. I played the lottery today. Won't you please wish me luck? I wanna dance my pain away. I got problems. Dance my pain away. I got problems.
To me, that is the classic way of describing what we're talking about. Dance your pain away, dance it out, transform your kind of life way into wealth on the dance floor.
That was WDET's Ryan Patrick Hooper talking with author Emma Warren. You can find the rest of that conversation at WDET.org.
is The Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. That was Nick Austin. I'm Tia Graham. Today we'll start the weekend off with sunny skies and a high around 83 degrees. Tonight, expected change of thunderstorms and rain. We'll see sunny skies with a high of 81, and Sunday, partly cloudy, a chance of rain in the afternoon with a high near 77. Monday, extremely windy conditions expected, 40 miles per hour with the high in the low 70s. That is Monday. So that is your movement weekend forecast. Be prepared for that. Sunscreen as well as umbrellas and windbreakers, clearly. However, coming up, we'll discuss DJ life and movement with DJ and local artist Blackmoonchild. You all stay right there. This is the Metro. We're shuffling to the end of the show. This is what's happening, Nick Austin. This is what's happening. That's how we're going to do the whole show.
All right. Well, take it away.
I wish. I know. We're getting into movement this weekend. Super excited about everything that's happening. And you've been hearing so much about it. Nonstop movement coverage here from WDET, whether it's In the Groove with Ryan Patrick Cooper or Wajid or Liz Copeland. Earlier, you've heard so many different DJs, but you did hear from Delano Smith himself. And we are introducing you to another talented local DJ. Blackmoonchild has been working in the industry for a few years, but is quickly developing a name for herself and her own sound. As you can hear right now, you could turn it up a little bit. That is her music. Blackmoonchild is here today to chat about her career so far, being a young Black woman in this industry, and why it's important to maintain the art of techno. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my gosh, I got the tingly.
I'm excited about that. But so I always ask people before we get started, what part of Detroit are you from?
Well, I'm originally born in Flint, Michigan, but I grew up on the east side. Yes.
I love that so much. Got the transplant here, but you brought that Flint flair here to city of Detroit. But so when did you begin your journey in the DJ world? When did you decide this is what I want to do?
I started making beats in high school. Probably like my senior year of high school, I just started making music. I actually was a producer first. I was just making beats and putting them on SoundCloud. And one of my good girlfriends asked me to DJ an art show for her, and really just to make a playlist on my phone. But I went out and bought a mixer and just did the most. And then after that, people started asking me to do more things, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, I know I randomly stumbled upon you. I was at a dancing somewhere one night and you were playing, and I just said, oh my gosh, who is this? I need to find her. So, here we are now. Who are some of your biggest influences when you began to craft your sound, especially after buying your own equipment?
Oh my gosh, some of my biggest influences will probably be, of course, like Jeff Mills, the Wizard, like legendary.
Yes.
DJ Minx. I'm a huge fan of DJ Minx.
Who was here this week, yes.
Super inspired by DJ Minx. I'm Amex. I'm really close with Amex. Really talented. I think she's one of the first like DJs I saw like playing techno that I was just really, really into her set. Who that? I mean, I would be here naming people all day long, but yeah, some of that initial inspiration came from also just going to the festival as a young person with my mother. I've been in Detroit since I was 5 years old, so like
you home.
But that's her thing. My mom, she loves techno.
I love it.
And she took me to some of the early DEMP festivals. That's like a youngin'.
And that's, one of the things about the city of Detroit is we do this thing where we reach back and we pull those who are younger than us up with us wherever we're going, whether it's through music, whether it's fashion, whether it's whatever it may be. That's something that we do here in the city of Detroit. So just talk about that love that you inherited from your mom and some of the things that she would kind of listen to when you guys were together.
One of the first songs that I really remember just like dancing with my mom at the festival with is Timeline by Galaxy to Galaxy. It's just like, I just remember that was just being a moment, maybe like 7 or 8, and just watching my mom dance and her dancing with me to that song. So that song is very sentimental to me for that reason. But yeah, my mom, she's the life of the party. She's a U of M graduate. She used to come down from Ann Arbor to go to all of the stuff in the 80s. So that's, I just inherited that. She would buy the mixtapes and just play them in the car, That's just what she likes.
Yes, and you crafted your life, your career to make music that makes people move and feel good. So, and when I think about Movement Weekend and I think about just how large it is and so many eyes and so many people are going to be in the city of Detroit, you're going to be performing at so many different spots throughout the weekend. I saw Spotlight you're going to be at. You're going to be so many different places. So give us the rundown of your weekend.
Okay, so really big night tonight. Tonight is the Blueprint Movement. Really big night because we're on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going till sunrise. We're going to be at Red Door Digital from 9 till you get tired.
It's like when question marks on your invitation really mean something. I hear you.
That's going to be a big one. I'm really excited. And I do that with my homegirls, Crystal and AK. Shout out to them. I feel like they're listening right now.
Yes. Definitely want to get into Crystal and AK.
And then tomorrow I'm playing Underground in Black. I'm opening at 2:00. I'm really excited for that party. It's one of my favorite movement parties. Just been a dancer at the parties for the past few years, so it's a really big deal for me to play. And then later on Saturday, back-to-back with me and AK at Tresor for Return to the Source.
Which is really, really cool. Once again, just everything that you've been able to do over since I've been following you, I've just watching you just get more and more gigs, been doing more and more sets. And you talk about Crystal and AK. You all are in a collective together, and you guys work, and you have this community of just young Black women working together. So talk about being in community with like-minded people.
So it's really important. I honestly could not do some of the work that I do without them. And them being, not only just like people I do this party with, but like my really good friends, I think adds an extra layer of understanding. Like I feel like they understand my creativity in a way, just because we're friends and like we work well together. I think that makes a beautiful connection. I feel like we really mesh well together.
So we heard one of your tracks there that was Play.
Mm-hmm.
Play and Blackmoonchild Play. You guys can go stream that, download that now. But we heard that track, and I love so many other tracks. Where's the Bud? There's just so many. I know there are so many tracks I listen to from you. So I wonder, where do you get this sound? Because it's a very like hard hitting, in your face underground sound.
I really, really love like really hard techno. Like hard, fast techno. And I love footwork. Mm-hmm. So when I'm DJing, the BPMs are like kind of different. Like you could start kind of low with the techno track, but typically footwork and, like drum and bass and things like that are higher BPM. So like that's why I like things to be, I feel like that's why my sound is the way it is, because like I'm blending those two genres 9 times out of 10. So, but that's just, I don't want to say I don't like slow music, but that's what I like.
No, we were all in here just dancing and listening to it and bobbing our heads to it. But I'm just thinking about, of course, your performances. You're talking about this upcoming weekend. Like I said, we had Delano Smith in, who was like a legend in the industry.
I was freaking out at the scene.
I love that so much. And that's one of the reasons why I was happy that he was here. And then you were also on the show, because we have that contrast here, that comparison and contrast. He was at the beginning of it. And now we're so far away from that at this point, and we're starting to see so many different people branch out of it, different genres and subgenres. And I just want to know, like, where are you right now in this industry? Where do you see it going?
Right now in this industry, I am just trying to do what I feel is my work, like my I'm trying to put words to it, but like my purpose, I feel, in this stage of the game is to uplift as many Black young women as I can, because seeing women like DJ Minx and AMX and Ash Lauren, I'm sorry, seeing them was the motivator for me. So I think that's important. I think other young Black girls, especially that are beginning out, need to see people who look like them doing the thing. So I think that is the biggest form of encouragement and motivation. So I'm driving this till the wheels roll off, and trying to do it as big as I can until as long as I'm able to. But yeah.
Yeah. I just, once again, when I saw you perform and I see your sets live, I just thought to myself the same thing. Representation. And I go to so many of these shows that I often don't see young Black women performing. So to see you there that day, it was just like, oh my gosh, it's happening, Black Girl Magic. So thank you so very much for joining us on the Metro. Blackmoonchild, local DJ in Detroit. You can catch her next sets this weekend. Spotlight, Red Door. You got so many other places that you're going to be. Where can they find you?
You can find me tonight. I will be tonight at Red Door Digital for Blueprint at Movement. Please be there.
Yes. Thank you so much, Blackmoonchild, for being on the Metro.
Thank you for having me.
That's the Metro for Friday, May 24th. You can listen to recent episodes online at WDET.org and make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
The show is produced by Sam Corey, David Lyons, and Jack Philbrandt, and our engineer is Nate Bender.
The Metro is a production of WDET, a listener-supported service of Wayne State University. If you like what you hear and want to support the Metro, consider becoming a member at WDET.org/donate.
This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you shuffle throughout the whole weekend.
WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM is offering a new master's degree in ethical leadership focused on sustainable, ethical, and inclusive problem solving. More information at business.udmercy.edu.